Hey guys, Nick here, and today we're going to talk about the Vengeance, aka the Kelvin Timeline Intel Dreadnought Cruiser. This has been requested by a couple of people in my Discord, and I'm sure just being one of the, the most fan favorite ships in the game, a lot of people should enjoy this. I enjoy this. This is my first premium ship or lobby ship. Like, when this come out, I don't know how old I was. This is whatever. I just trying to think. I'm back on was that my laptop or my first build, sitting there waiting, trying to get this ship, like crawling, scratching at away, just trying to get resources to get myself one of these ships. So this was my first premium ship, as I would say back in the day. I just think I love the way it looks. I've always liked the way it flies. It's a little slower, but it's a beast. And the reason why I'm doing this as well is with the 14th anniversary bundle, with Plasma, with, the addition of the Type 7 shuttlecraft from the Awani, the Vengeance has actually, really taken a step up in the Plasma meta. So when we look at plasma ships and energy weapon ships, first nowadays we look at isomags. So how many isomags can a ship run? So this ship can run 7 isomags. Nowadays and then with the Awani pets, we're gonna look at what ship has a hangar bay. So between myself and CasualSAB one day, it was more myself pushing him. I said, "Oh, Spence, what ship has the best combination of, has a decent scatter volley, can run override subsystem safeties with intel, has a hangar bay and can run plenty of, isomags with a hangar bay. What's the options?" And he went, "Well, there's only a few. You've got the dhailkhina, you've got the Vengeance, you've got the Gamor, and you've got the legendary Gal X." Well, I went, "Well, you know which one I'm gonna fly? I'm gonna fly the Vengeance." So here is my version of the Spencer Plasma build. So Spencer's, if anyone's seen Spencer's dhailkhina Plasma build, this is very similar to that, but it's on the Vengeance. So, and now with the addition to temporal tunneling from the Atlantis, the Vengeance that's why it's taken a step up, because it's got a hangar bay, it's got temporal abilities, it can run plenty of isomags. It's 5/3. Price isn't too bad to buy one of these. I think they're about 250 million on the exchange right now, comparatively to like a dhailkhina that's probably about 1.5 billion EC right now. So, I just think it was a sort of a no-brainer. So today, guys, the equipment. So for those who know and those who don't, the Gorn Hunter Pilot Raider come to the game a few months ago, and that really elevated Plasma in elite content above all firing modes because of the trait Complex Plasma Fires. So during energy weapon firing modes, plasma weapons apply a 184.7 stacking plasma damage per second for 30 seconds. Ignore shields, scales, or weapon powers. So scaling with weapon power, isomags, they just work together perfectly, because isomags boost your maximum weapon power. This scaling with weapon power, it's just loving it. So if you're wanting to get into plasma or want to run a plasma build with, if you don't have the Gorn Hunter Pilot Raider, maybe you want to check that out, because it is a beast of a ship. Okay, so we have our Gorn Plasma quad cannons that becomes off the Gorn Pilot Raider. The Lure Team console comes off the Gorn Pilot Raider. So you see the 20% bonus plasma damage and the 30% dot damage. Damage over time, which also is boosting our complex plasma fires, because that is a damage over time. And I won't say and. Those are the 3 pieces. So we have the dual heavies. Oh, no. And the ship comes with a experimental weapon. That's what I'm forgetting, guys. The ship comes with a experimental weapon. I don't actually know the name of it. The Plasma Incendiary Bombardment. I think that's what it's called. So that as well is a beast of an experimental weapon. It's probably the best experimental weapon we have for energy weapons now. So all three pieces make plasma just insanely good for elite content. And I've taken this into ISA, so Infected the Conduit Advanced, and that's also just, it does incredibly well in that content as well. So after my Gorn quad cannons, I have Viridian Plasma Dual Heavy Cannons. So these are from the exchange. They come out when we got the Viridian. Not the Viridian. It was the Viridian. I'm trying it. Not the Viridian. The Emerald Chain Juggernaut. I'm trying to say it. They come out when we got the Emerald Chain Juggernaut. These weapons did. Because those are the weapons the ship is actually using. Because the ship was called the Viridian. I have a Maelstrom Quantum Torpedo Launcher from the legendary Akira. That is just the damage this does on a spread. So if you use this with torpedo spread, it is incredible how much damage it does. I mistimed it in this last run because I have auto fired it, but I'll show you towards the end of the video. I did a ISE with this build. I hit almost 1 million DPS. It was a little lower than that. With my bad piloting and my bad timing, this build still rocks. So I just thought, that's a good example. Next up, we have the Elite Fleet Intervention Protomatter Deflector. So this is from our Fleet Colony for our 4% crit chance, our 15 severity, and then the plus 21.3 Starship Shield Pen and Starship Weapon Specialization. So those are crit hit chance and improved Shield Pen substats. Next up, we have our Prevailing Innovated Impulse Engines. So for those who have never used competitive rep engines, if you see the lower line, Prevailing Engine Overcharge, upon activating a firing mode, bridge officer abilities, 350% flight speed and 350% flight turn rate for 5 seconds. So basically, every time you hit a firing mode, you basically have another evasive maneuvers to keep you going. So I'll just demonstrate real quick. See how I'm moving, and I run into that Nadarian. So see, I'm moving, normal speed. I hit my firing mode, and I'm moving a little bit quicker. Helps me move, helps me turn, and you combine that with evasive maneuvers, and you have a nice little speed buff. Alright. So, next up, our Warp Core. Our Tholian Nucleating Warp Core. So, I have this on this build because in a situation where I'm getting most of the kills, it's going to give me a fair bit of damage. But in your day-to-day content, I would recommend running the Mycelial Harmonic Matter Antimatter Core from the Discovery Legends reputation for the 2-piece with the Tilly shield. So if you say you have issues surviving, I would pair it with the Warp Core for the 120% hull regeneration, just to give you that little bit extra of tankiness. And speaking of the Tilly shield, in our shield slot, we have our Tilly's Review Pending Modified Shield. And in our aft slots, because we're running cannons, in the back we're going to run turrets, because those are the 360-degree arc version of the cannons. So we have a Plasmatic Biomatter Auto Turret. This is from the Lobby store. I just used it because I had one when I was making this ship up a couple weeks ago. Then I have 2 Viridian Plasma Turrets. So these are the same as the Dual Heavies that I have up front, just the turret versions. They look the same. I like the look and I like the proc. So it's the 2.5% for 30% fire cycling haste for 6 seconds for all Viridian Plasma weapons. So the more of these you have, the more chance you might get the proc, and you'll get the 30% increased fire cycling haste on these weapons. Next up, we have, for our devices, pretty much the stock standard, our Deuterium Surplus. This is our evasive maneuvers in a can. Our advanced batteries on our certain type. So because this is an energy weapon build, I'm running bonus energy weapon damage batteries. Our Kobayashi Maru transponder, our Temporal Negotiator, and Red Matter Capacitor, just in there if I feel like hitting it and I don't want to use a battery up. And in our Universal and our Engineering consoles, we have Plasma Isomags. So these are plasma modified isomags, or the modifier on these are plasma. So the 39.4 plasma energy damage, the 7.3 weapon power, and the 7.3 stacking max weapon power. So that means generally your maximum weapon power is 125, maybe 30 if you're using like the Teran core, just resting. But we can go out. You can see my resting power level. If we can see, I don't know, it's a bit hard to see, is 176 power maximum weapon power resting, and because of this ship being an Intel ship, if I hit override subsystem safety 3, my weapon power is at 221. It should be 226, but I'd say it's dropped right as I've clicked it. So you get extra power from running override subsystem safeties. Alright, so those we have our plasma ISO mags. Next up, as I was speaking about it before, we have our Lure Team Command. This is the console from the Gorn Pilot Hunter Raider. I think I said that. It's Gorn Hunter Pilot Raider. Alright. So 30% dot damage, 20% bonus plasma damage. So that's category 2 damage. We have deploys a lure team for 20 seconds, targets foes, and on arrival they lure each enemy ship within 2.5 kilometers. Lured foes suffer a deadly trap when you approach within 5 kilometers. 2 targets applies the trap is strung to the target. Shield subsystem offline for 14.7 seconds and just under 30,000 plasma damage and a 2-minute recharge. So guys, this is a cool console. The clicky, the passives are amazing. The clicky is cool. It is noted that the clicky itself is actually really, really slow. So if you're going to hit it on something, make sure it's going to stay alive, or you hit it early, because it's really slow to travel to targets. And it's, if you're, like, say you're at the start of an infected, it has quite the travel time. So a lot of the time I don't use it because I don't time it right and I never get use out of it. I just use it for the passive bonuses. And next up we have the Sensor Phantom Projector from the Cyclone. So this is off a C-Store ship. It is for the passives mostly, and the clicky itself is very beastly, but I had it on this build for the passives. The 25.6 bonus directed energy damage when attacking an enemy rear. So basically, if you're flanking an enemy, you get 25.6 bonus damage, and if you actually use the console, you get 153.9 bonus directed energy damage when attacking in a rear arc. So you use the console, which is basically a boof. Sorry, guys. It's a beefed up sensor. It's a beefed up sensor interference platform. So this console is rather good. Like, it basically means you don't need a tank for like the duration of like that target. So, say you're in middle of Hive Space Elite, all these targets going off, you just drop this sensor fan, boom, it'll taunt everything and tank it. So it's, pretty awesome console to have. Next up, the Domino. So Domino is from the Bajoran Interceptor. It is plus 15 phaser damage, which we're not getting any use out of. Plus 20 accuracy, which we are getting use out of. And then it is here mainly for the plus fire cycling haste, the bonus damage, and the recharge to bridge officer abilities when I use the active. So you use the active, it's normally 10 seconds. If you get a bunch of kills, you can have it up to 30 seconds. So it's 30 seconds out of 2 minutes. So you're getting quite a lot of haste, bonus damage, and recharge speed to your bridge officers for a considerable amount of time. So it's a nice console to have. Next up, we have our bioneural infusion circuits. So guys, if you've watched any of my videos, I'm a big fan of this console. I just think it's great. It's from the Lobby store. It's great passive stats, crit chance, hull cap, control expertise. They all, basically, in almost every single build, you're going to use all 3 of these stats. I don't know how much I'm using the control in this one. It's mainly the hull cap and the crit severity, but plus crit severity plus hull cap are nice stats to have. The Immolating Phaser Lance. So same again, phaser damage. We're not getting really any use out of it except for buffing the console. But the Phaser Lance is here to combine with the trait Universal Designs. As Universal Designs is when you activate a Universal Console, you get 2% crit chance and 10% severity, stacking up to 5 times. So The Immolating Phase Lens being a universal console that has 6 stacks, it allows me to keep up universal designs rather easily, because as I fire a shot, I get a stack, but then I have 5 more stacks after that to maintain it. So I can just sit there and just go fire, 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 and it'll build my stacks, but it's also recharging quickly, so I can then fire it again to maintain my stacks. And last but not least for our consoles, the Fakiri Torment engine from the mission in the Klingon arc, in Klingon Civil War, Leap of Faith. So our Fakiri Torment engine, pretty simple mission to run, and you pick up the Fakiri Torment engine for the increased non-hazard damage over time, increased to fire damage, radiation, plasma, and physical. So this is actually quite good on this one, because we are doing plasma and we're doing plasma damage, and we have dealing non-hazard dot damage has a 10% chance to do 1.9% fire damage. So I can show you later on my past, I actually got above 10k damage just passively from this console. So I get the passive increase to my damage, and then I also get the passive little damage that the console does. So I got a fair use out of a mission reward console on this build. And for my pet, I am running the Elite Type 7 shuttlecraft. So these come out recently on the Awani. They're there because they're on this build because they use attack pattern beta 3. So that, if anybody doesn't know, attack pattern beta 3 is basically minus 50 damage resistance rating to an enemy. Close in sensor pass is another debuffing ability. So we see here, close in sensor pass reduces their current target's damage resistance rating by for 10 seconds, 20-second recharge. If the enemy's shield facing are below 50% on average, the damage resistance rating debuff is doubled. The base value of this debuff increases with rank 1, 2, and 3. Each Type 7 might apply this buff, and all their instances stack. This is a science debuff. So basically, it's if the shields are offline, it'll do more debuff. If not, it'll still do debuff. But there is more things behind close in sensor pass that I don't quite fully understand myself, but it is incredible the amount of debuff this has. So I know how everybody loves ISC and all that, but with, I think it was 8 hangar bays worth of these pets in a run we had the other night, we had close to 600% debuff on every target, and on some targets we're in the range of 1500% to 2000 debuff on those targets. So they're taking a huge amount of more damage than they would normally take from us. So I can't recommend these anymore, guys. They're from a C-Store ship. You can put them on any single ship that you fly, and they're amazing because they just make you do so much more damage. Anyway, to our skills. This is the stock standard skill tree I'm running on this character. I don't think I'll ever change it ever again. 27 points in TAC, 9 points in science, and 10 points in engineering. I'll just let it sit here for a sec, so if you want to have a look, and we'll just so you can pause it. There you go. And for this build, I'm running Intel primary, temporal operative secondary, because this is basically a dot damage build. It's as a primary with our Intel. Intel for energy weapons gives us the flanking damage, but being a sort of dot damage build with the plasma and the complex plasma fires, I wanted more dots with Entropic Rider, the plus 50 EPG, and the recharge to my abilities. Next up, our Starship Trades and our personal space trades. So this was a bit of an experiment with our Supreme Fleet Leader, Mr. Spencer. We have A Good Day to Die. So basically, our tactical ability, Good Day to Die, which is here on my trays, is 50% bonus all damage and 20% all damage resistance rating. Before you had this trait, you could only use that when you were below 50% hull. Now I can use it at any time. So basically, with Intelligent Agent Attaché and this has got quite a low cooldown, and I can use it for 50% bonus all damage most of the time. Next up, Duelist Further. As we're having a bug with our trays, and I can't just click to a trait doesn't see it, so I have to be scrolling for all of this. When you or a teammate kills something, 5% all damage for 10 seconds, 5% 5 accuracy for 10 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So that's 15 damage and 15 accuracy. So this is just a little damage bonus. It's not a huge damage bonus, but it is something on our build. Next up, we have this is a trait from the 14th anniversary bundle, so I thought I'd try it out on this build. Liberated Borg Kingdom Nanoprobes. So 2 to 20 crit severity with energy weapons grows every 5 seconds. So this is a building trait. So the more you're in combat, the more it grows, and you'll end up with 20% crit severity and 20 kinetic damage resistance rating. So nice little passive trait to increase our damage and increase our kinetic resistance rating. Next up, we have Intelligent Agent Attaché. So, Intelligent Agent Attaché. These are all premium traits from the lockboxes. But on weapon crit strikes, restores 2% of captain ability recharges. So, guys, if you don't know what this means, your captain abilities for tacticals are Go Down Fighting, Attack Pattern Alpha, Tactical Initiative, Vulnerability Assessment Sweep, and Tactical Fleet. So basically, as these are on cooldown, every time you crit, you gain 2% of its cooldown back. So say, it's 2% of 5 minutes on our Tactical Fleet each time I crit. So if you're in a high-end build that's critting every second or every 2 seconds, you're gaining basically all of its shared cooldown back within a few seconds. So happy days. Next up, Fragment of AI Tech. So this is plus 50 control expertise and plus 20.8 energy damage based on your control expertise. So guys, this is how much control you have gives you bonus energy weapon damage, and it's plus 50 control. So say you're running a gravity well, this would help your gravity well. I'm not running a gravity well on this build, so it's only helping my energy weapon damage, which is still nice. It's because I'm using energy weapons. This is a boost to my energy weapon damage. Next up, we have Fleet Coordinator, as we still see this bug with our traits. There we go. 2% bonus all damage per team member, self-included, up to 10 times. So this is a stock trait, so you don't have to go and buy it. 10% bonus damage when you're in a TFO group, which is where you really want your damage. So increased damage while you're in a group. So, you're happy days. Next up, Self-Modulating Fire. So this is I don't know the percentage, I can just hover it. On outgoing crit hits, your energy weapons and projectiles gain 50% shield penetration for 10 seconds. So on your first crit, if this is on cooldown or not on cooldown, sorry, you gain 50% energy weapon and shield and projectile shield pen. So you are shredding through shields in your alpha strike. So generally you'll hit all your buffs. So in that alpha strike on your first crit, you have quite a lot of shield pen. Next up, we have the Boimler effect. This is 17.5% chance to recharge all your bridge officer abilities to their global cooldown. So as you see, nope, they're not. It doesn't want to come. See if we can scroll to it. There we go. But basically, if we see here, that's on a 20-second. I'm trying to see if it go. Yeah, I don't know if you could see that. My beta and my chemo just dropped their cooldown map to their global cooldowns when I hit. Well, that was when I hit Tactical Initiative. But trying to see if I can get something to. There we go. My Cannon Scatter Volley procced its own Boimler. So it went from 25 to 15, which is 15 is Cannon Scatter Volley's global cooldown. You can see there. See if I can get another Boimler proc, but sometimes you can be unlucky. That's why you need other methods of cooldown with Boimler. So Boimler, it can be a bit inconsistent, but when it does proc, boom, everything's at its global cooldown. That's currently on cooldown, so it is quite nice. Next up, we have Teran Targeting Systems. So this is just straight up 15% crit severity. Incoming crit hits reduce your speed by 10% for 5 seconds. Maximum once every 15 seconds. You don't really feel this at all, so this is always a staple on my damage builds because 15 crit severity is a nice passive bonus. And last but not least is Unconventional Systems. So this is when using a control bridge officer ability, you gain minus 7% recharge to universal consoles. So I can show you here. I hit Domino. Domino's got a 2-minute cooldown. Viral Impulse Burst is a unconventional systems proc. Let's see if I can click it without it covering. But we see here it's about there. I'm going to click it, and boom, it's, see how it just dropped it a little bit? That was it recharging my universal console. To my Starship Trades, we have emergency weapon cycle. Emergency weapon cycle is on emergency powder weapons, minus 50% weapon power cost for 30 seconds, 20% fire cycling haste for energy weapons. So weapon power is a damage modifier for energy weapons. So the less you drain your weapon powers, the more they'll consistently do. And so, you know, you're happy. That's generally a part of energy weapon builds, is you want to build in negative weapon power cost. So your emergency weapon cycle, or I think another one comes from the Prize World satellite. So anyway, or the trait from the legendary Defiant, Overpowered and Overgun, it is negative weapon power cost. Next up, we have the Withering Barrage. So on all energy weapon builds, we are running an extension trait. So for cannons, it's Withering Barrage. For fire at will, it's Entwined Tactical Matrices. For beam overload, I always forget the name of it because I don't run it, but you guys get the point. We are super weapon ingenuity, so increase beam overload by 5 seconds. So guys, on all energy weapon builds, you want to, like, for almost first up, you want to look at what is my extension trait to bring my firing mode to 100% uptime, because on standard firing modes, energy weapon firing modes don't have 100% uptime, and having 100% uptime on your firing mode is a huge damage increase. So for cannons, it's Withering Barrage, and currently if you're playing the game and you don't have this trait, if you have made a KDF recruit, that allows you to get this trait for free by completing the recruitment events or the recruitment objectives. So have a look into that. Next up, this is where the build starts to get quite expensive. We have universal designs, which I mentioned earlier. When activating a universal console, lasts for 20 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. We have, with the 5 stacks, we have 10% crit chance and 50% severity. So, like I was saying earlier, with Immolating Phaser Lance, I can keep this up 100% of the time at 5 stacks. So that's a lot of damage increase with the pairing of these two. Next up, we have the Ruin of Our Enemies. When you defeat a foe, 3% bonus damage for 20 seconds, and every 5th defeat, minus 15% recharge to your Bridge Officer abilities over 5 seconds. So this is a method of cooldown reduction for me, because if I'm getting kills, I'm getting cooldown reduction, which then helps me feed in with my Boimler. So Boimler's giving me a bit, but just say Boimler doesn't proc and everything's on its like maximum cooldown, this will help me bring it to my cooldown's down, and then Boimler might have a chance to kick in. Next up, we have Teran Goodbye. This is from the Mirror of Worship. When you defeat a foe, 25 accuracy, 5% crit chance, stacking up to 3 times. So guys, this is stacking up to 3 times, so this is 75 accuracy and 15% crit severity. So it's really nice, big boost to your crit chance. So guys, if you don't know what accuracy overflow does, I'm not even going to attempt to explain it, but there's a math behind, people have 100 defense rating and you have like 100 accuracy. More accuracy you have is like the chance of you critting more. So, but say someone has more defense, that means if you don't have a lot of accuracy, it means there's a chance you might miss. So you're having like a little bit of a boost to accuracy in these energy weapon builds is nice, because it means you're guaranteed not to miss, but then you might also like have a lot more accuracy than what their defense is, and that means you're into what they call accuracy overflow, and I think that's where it starts to add a little bit more into your damage, because there's a lot of math behind it that I don't understand myself personally. I'd leave that to my energy weapon mathematicians. If anyone knows of MB, he's the ISA addict, or Chell, and a few of the others that are around. I leave that to them, because I personally don't understand the game math. I understand the game, in a practical manner, but not a mathematician level. That's just never been my strength. And the last 2 traits, Complex Plasma Fires, I mentioned this earlier, so this is from the Gorn Hunter Pilot Raider. During your energy weapons, plasma weapons apply 124.7 stacking plasma damage per second for 30 seconds. So as you're firing this, it's stacking. So it's just building damage. So in this last run, I think this is like my second highest damage source was Complex Plasma Fires, the trait. And last but not least, for our Starship Trades, Temporal Tunneling. So guys, this is 100% fire cycling haste for energy weapons for 5 seconds, can be triggered every 15. So this was from the Atlantis, this come from the 14th anniversary bundle, so there's a few pieces on this ship. So the pets from the Iwani and the trait from the Atlantis of the 14th anniversary bundle. That's like where I was mentioning earlier, like the 14th anniversary really pushed up the Vengeance's power, or like its stature in the energy weapon game. Like it, because this is triggered from temporal or exotic bridge officer abilities, you know, the Vengeance can trigger both, but the Vengeance also has the Hangar Bay for the Iwani pets, which, like, say some ships don't have. Yeah, you pick up like the legendary Borders Q, maybe that doesn't have a Hangar Bay, so you can't do like the both. You can't do the Hangar Bay and like the trait, whereas this can do both. That's where it's, you know, I just think it's a beast of a ship again. Like, it's always been a beast of a ship, but it's like it's been pushed up now with these traits. Anyway, guys, the last, our space reputation. We have advanced targeting systems for our 20% crit severity, our precision for a 5% crit chance, our Tyler's Duality for a 6% crit chance. Currently for this build for myself, that being a scaling will be different for everybody. Your Endeavor score might be a little lower than mine, so you might not have quite as much hull. You might have more. You might have, you know, just depends on your current build, your current setup. Magnified Firepower, 6.3 bonus weapon damage. So that's bonus to our energy weapon damage, so just straight up damage increase. And Controlled Countermeasures. So this is 9.4 bonus energy weapon damage and projectile damage against controlled targets. So if someone's using any control abilities or cold-hearted in the run, I'm getting bonus damage. So this is more of a if certain things are happening trait, but if it does, it's a quite a large increase to my damage. And our active space reputation, anti-time entanglement suite, biomolecular shield generator, deploy sensor interference platform, quantum singularity manipulator, and refracting tetron cascade. To our stations. So guys, this is our stations. This is a commander engineering intel ship with Lieutenant Temporal Universal, a Lieutenant Command Attack, a Lieutenant Commander Universal, and an Ensign Science. Guys, you can see my stations here if you would like to copy them, but I'll just go over some points. Tractor Beam Catapult is here to proc Temporal Tunneling, because Tractor Beam Catapult is an exotic ability. And then some key points. Heisenberg Amplify is one of the best unconventional systems procs in the game. Same with Viral Impulse Burst. Override Subsystem Safeties is for the plus 50 weapon power. So energy weapon scale of weapon power. This is boosting all of ours, but our power by 50. So that includes our weapons. So this will mean, if I hit it here, you can see my weapon power, boom, 221. So that's almost 100 over the maximum of normal builds with that isomags on it. So that's quite a lot of weapon power, just giving this ship quite a lot of punch. And in our commander, that was like a choice node between directed energy modulation and another unconventional systems proc. I went with the unconventional systems proc of ionic turbulence and the extra little debuff that it provides. Anyways, so if you want to copy this build, here is the stations. I just don't want to go into it too much. You know, being a cannon scatter volley build, we're obviously going to use cannon scatter volley, and then just a few other procs. Procs for energy, our emergency weapon cycle, chemosite lace weaponry, attack pattern beta, tractor beam, beam overload as a competitive engines proc, emergency powder engines as our reset for our emergency con hologram, and then viral impulse burst and ionic turbulence. And to finish off this video, our duty officers. So we have Vincent Kesh. Because this ship isn't a commander tactical, I can't use CSV 3, so Cannon Scatter Volley 3. I can only have Cannon Scatter Volley 2. Vincent Kesh is a proc that might give me Cannon Scatter Volley 3 and increase my damage by a little bit. So the off chance is procs, I'm getting a nice little damage bonus because I'll have Cannon Scatter Volley 3 over Cannon Scatter Volley 2. 2747. So guys, this is probably the most overrated duty officer in the game, the most expensive duty officer in the game. It's nice stats, but don't bust your hump trying to get it because it is ridiculously expensive. It's almost the price of a starship, a lockbox starship. So I like this DOF is more expensive than this ship that I'm flying currently. So take that into account if you like were like, oh, Nick's got a 27, I should put a 27 on. It is insanely expensive, and I don't recommend people go out and buy it because it is that expensive. But if you do have it, the plus crit severity plus crit chance that it provides is nice if it procs. You're not gonna notice if it does or not, so don't worry about getting it. Yeah, I have it because I spend too much money, but yeah. Next we have our crit chance energy weapon officer. So this is 4% chance for a 1% increase to a crit chance, stacking 3 times. So this is a potential 3% increase to our crit chance. Then we have the emergency con hologram. So this is a reset to our evasive maneuvers. So if you hit evasive maneuvers, it goes on cooldown. You hit emergency powder engines, it will reset the cooldown. So providing this allows us to have like 2 to 3 times more evasive maneuvers than we normally would have. Next up, we have 26. This is a tactical and temporal bridge officer ability. So this is a tactical, gives us improved to our damage over time. So this is our Gorn Hunter trait. This is our Fakari Torment engine, maybe our Kima Sight Lace weaponry, and so on. And the temporal. So temporal, our Heisenberg amplifier. Every time that goes off, we have a 30% chance to get 2.5% increase crit chance. So yeah, nice little, because it's this attack temporal, it's proccing both, and there's good chance we get a nice little buff. And our crit severity. So I like our crit chance one, a 4% chance for our increase, 10% increase to crit severity, stacking up to 3 times. So this is 30% severity, and so on. But guys, don't bust your hump trying to get very rares. Rares will do just nicely. Uncommons, whatever you've got, I wouldn't bust your hump trying to get them. If you're like, oh, I need to spend my next paycheck on it, don't bust your hump on these things, guys. Though don't be silly like me, because certain events you'll give them out for free. You can grind them. You can get them from your end of year events, like little trades and so on.
Somebody's in the Atlas. We got Atlas. We got the Vengeance J compiler. Oh Jesus. Holy shit balls.
Bit laggy.
A little bit.
I mean, just be glad Nick doesn't have that engineer drain build he's been working on in there. Make things really rough.
Right.
Yeah, guys, and I'm back. So I just showed you off the ISE run that I did for the Vengeance. It's probably been one of my better runs in that ship with that current build. So, in that run, ISE with myself, Rob, who is Strike at Exploding. We have Sovereign, we have Ice Knight, and we have Dwayne, who is at Teran. I did 942k with the Vengeance. I'll say thank you to everybody. I kind of did what I always do. Rob was Rob. He's a buddy of mine, so I just said, Rob, you coming to do an ISC? And everybody else was they got a random invite from me. They accepted, knowing it's me, and I dragged them into an IC just to have a bit of fun. So thank you guys. If you're watching this, thank you. Yeah. Anybody else on my friends list, you can I won't say expect that, but if I'm sending you an invite, I've generally, I got something planned, but I might not let you know, but say thank you for the future. Yeah, guys, so 942k from this plasma build is beastly. Here is the breakdown. So you can see my dual heavies did number 1. My complex plasma fires, the trait, did 206k of my 942, so it's incredible. And then my turrets did a combined, I want to say, what's that, 93, 176, and then what, 200-ish. So my turrets did fairly good. And in the pet section, so then you can see there's still a good amount of potential from the Maelstrom. So if you fire it off, that could be 100k plus. So this could easily be a 1 million plus DPS build when piloted correctly by a good pilot, not by myself. But pet section, the asteroid, and the elite type 7s did about 9k, but they were giving me a bit of debuff because no one was running debuff. It wasn't a high debuff run, so there's only 150k 150% debuff in this run, but it still shows that even without a lot of debuff, this build does really, really well. Anyway, guys, I'm going to hide SCM down there. I'm gonna pop back to our Vengeance and say, guys, if you liked this video, please smash that like button, comment down below, and if you haven't, can you please subscribe to the channel? It really is a great tool to support the channel. I want to also mention the channel growth, it has been insane. Like, not even incredible, it's been insanely amazing. When I first started doing this, talking with McStew, talking with Spencer, we estimated 2 to 3 months to maybe I might hit 1,000 subscribers. I did it in under 1 month, and that's thanks to each and every one of you. So guys, I want to say thanks to you. This weekend we just had our 1,000 subscriber stream celebration where I did some shenanigans. And lastly, as before we go, guys, if you have any, I would say, suggestions for the next channel goal, or channel sort of, what can we earn? Somebody said like, oh, you do 1,000 promo packs next or something crazy. But guys, if you have some insane idea that I do something crazy at maybe 2,000 subscribers, put it down below. I'd be interested to hear what people think, or maybe what they want to see me do. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna say thank you as always. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.